because I know what all of you do, is you think you know how to do it. When you change machines, make sure that you know what you're doing. All right. Okay, and then I have an array of different seam gauges that I'm going to show you how we use them. All right, so just a quick reference. Some of my just tips on actually I work better without papers, but I was scared of forgetting things. Okay, the most important thing when making buttonholes is that you have to stabilize. It is the most important thing. Now, if you are working in a sheer fabric and you can't stabilize because it's going to shine through or show through, then you still have to stabilize the buttonhole. Okay, and that is when, so on a normal, let's for instance say this is the button stand, you would be fusing the whole area, or you would use tearaway or cutaway to fuse just the little bit where you are actually sewing. And why this is important is a lot of people do buttonholes and then they start setting the tension of their machine and everything because it's puckering up. It's puckering up because it's not stabilized. It's not because your machine's tension is wrong. Please guys, the last thing you should be setting on your machine, especially if you're new to sewing, is the tension. You don't know enough to change the tension. Okay? These new machines are very, very, very good at tension. They rarely give you tension issues. When do they give you tension issues? If you're working on a really thin sheer fabric. So don't screw with your tension button if you don't know what you're actually doing. Okay, all right. Then, second most important thing is that you will always take some of the extra fabric and make a sample. You will sew 1 or 2 or 3, depending on how it struggles your machine or not. You will sew 2 or 3 buttonholes. You will cut it open. You will actually test it, because there's nothing worse than actually making a buttonhole and the hole is slightly too big. You must have all had this, where you buy a shirt and the buttons keep popping open. That's a buttonhole that's too big. So you want to test it. You want quite a snug fit, because a buttonhole also stretches after a while. So the first time you use a buttonhole, it needs to be quite snug. It mustn't be an easy, like throwing the button through the hole.
Manny, can you do a quick recap of what we're doing tonight? It looks like Instagram, Facebook, and in YouTube are working now. It's all working. So yeah, it's just a quick thing of what we're doing today.
Okay. Guys, I am ADD. This is the worst. This is why I'm starting to have papers. It's like the worst thing to me. Okay, so we are Fabric8. That's our company name. www.fabric with an 8, and we are a creative supply store, and what we're doing tonight is called Live Tuesdays, and we do it every Tuesday night at 7, except tonight, or maybe in the future when there's load shedding, we reschedule. We have many WhatsApp groups, so please join one of them and you will know if we reschedule. Okay, you can go to our website, www.fabric8.co.za. There is a bright pink button at the top on the menu, and all our patterns and all our tutorials and everything is there for you to find if you press that bright pink button. All right, tonight we are looking at the dreaded buttonholes. So many people, for so many people, it's the last thing they wanna do. So they avoid it, but it's actually not so difficult, especially on the new machines. They sort of do the job for you. You just need to do the prep work. All right, anything else?
No, we're good.
Okay, all right, so my best tip, remember, stabilize, 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 okay? Always do a sample lappy, and the sample lappy must be treated the same way as if you have fusing on your button stand on your shirt. You also need to fuse your sample lappy. Okay, and practice before you start. All right. Make sure when you're cutting open your test buttonhole that the button actually fits snugly. I've just said that. Okay? Make sure that you mark correctly because you're going to sew on your mark. So when they say measure twice and cut once, well, measure twice and then buttonhole once. Is the other thing, okay? Okay, awesome tip. If you are big busted and you tend to buy shirts and you always get that gape here, where it's not that the shirt's too small for you, it's just that that is your widest part, and then the two buttons are here. So where the most, what is that called? Force, there is no button. So my suggestion for people with big bust is always to start by measuring, put the shirt on, and measure your first buttonhole. Measure it there, so that you know there where you are doing all this movement, there is a button to secure you. And then you're going to measure down and measure up the buttons from there. All right. Okay. So on the little info sheet that I gave you is all the different types of buttonholes. I'm not going to go through them because some machines don't even have them. But if you have different ones, this machine, for instance, has 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 buttonholes. There's some of them. I've given you 6. The most commonly used normal one, if I can bring that closer, it's just called the standard or the square buttonhole. That is what most machines come with standard. Okay, so, and as I said, I got my notes here because otherwise, if we get interruptions, I don't know where I am at. All right, so the first thing we need to do is, if you have a new machine that has one of these awesome little feet, you don't actually have to measure your button because you will just, if I can pick it up, insert your button at the back here and close it up till it's a tight fit, and that is all the measuring you have to do for your machine. But remember, and we are now, this is our button stand. If you think about the button stand, it's going to be this, okay? So the top layer is our fabric, and we will obviously fuse the, it's called facing, or if it's a button stand, it will just be double. Okay, so most people don't actually know this, but from pattern making, what you would do is, for instance, let's take this button. Let's actually take a little bit of a bigger one. Let's take this one, okay? So what you'll do is you will take your little ruler and over the widest part of the button, you will measure it. This one is 1.8, so 18 millimeters. I just want to write it here so that I don't forget it. 18 millimeters wide, all right? Okay, so now a lot of people will think, okay, so I must just be 18 millimeters from the edge of my button stand. No, because if you go just 18 millimeters in, which is, let's do that quickly, which is there, where's my button? Who moved my cheese? I even got myself a bucket so that I can't, oh, here's the button. Okay. So let me just check myself. It's 1.8. So when you do a pattern for a button, you need, so let's say that's our 1.8 or our 18 mil, okay? So this is not where we can start the button hole. This line, 1.8, is actually the middle of the button. Can you see why? Because if we only start the button there, we have too much on this side of the, so the line, the width, we're going to go one width from the edge with our button. Can you guys see where I'm working here?
There's a question on tension. What's the standard setting on the automatic brother machine?
Which one? They are the middle. You will have a darker space between 3 and 5. 4 is the automatic. So the center of the marked space is the best. Okay. All right. So I'm going to just lift this up. So we have measured 1.8 or 18 millimeters from the edge of our button stand. Now, as I said, we're not going to make the button go there. We're actually going to make it straddle that line. So it's going to go half on the one side, half on the other side, so that we do not have too big a piece hanging over here. So once we have that, I'm just going to redraw it because for some reason it did not want to go show on the pink. Okay, there, get it quite dark. All right. Okay, so now we have to decide. It's always best, and by this time you should have finished your garment, so you should be able to put it on. So for me, I'm not one to show cleavage or wear my shirts quite low, so I always fit it on. And then, as I said, I start with the top button, but previously I used to be very much bigger than this, and I had to work on this one first, where the biggest part is, so that it doesn't actually pull open. All right, but what I would do now is I would put this on. Let's just do that, like comma, and I would decide where I want my first button to be. So if this is my button stand, I will decide that I don't want no cleavage showing, so I'm going to do my first buttonhole there, and then I would work out how many buttons do I want and how far apart I want them. Now, there's no real reason or exact science about how far apart your buttons must be. What I've always done is I would go to a men's shirt and I would measure the distance. It's probably, just looking at it, it's probably about, what is that, 9 centimeters, maybe 10, depending. Okay. Another thing, I did say this, when you're choosing buttons, rather choose smaller than bigger, especially if you're not working on coats or jackets. If it's a shirt or a dress or anything like that, and the button isn't like, you know, like a feature when you have 2 buckles coming over here, then you want big buttons, yes. But mostly, you want to rather go smaller and keep to, if you can remember what school shirt size buttons are. That is the quickest way that a garment looks homemade. If you have a beautiful shirt and it has these, let's just go with these like clown big buttons on them, then everyone can see. If it's not a fashion statement, which hasn't been for a while, big buttons, then people can see, oh, that's homemade. Not that that's a problem if that's what you want. I'm just saying. Okay, so another thing people ask about upright and horizontal buttons. Okay, so on a shirt where you use small buttons, it doesn't really matter. Okay, it's personal choice to me. There might be a rule, but if you're using small buttonholes, like for, you know, a normal men's shirt button, then it's fine to have them upright or horizontal. It's absolutely your choice. Okay. The reason why we don't make big upright buttonholes is because when we work in our clothes, that buttonhole tends to stretch out and it actually shows behind your button. So when you're doing coats or jackets or suits or any tailoring, the buttonhole is always horizontal. And when you have it on the sleeve, it's also horizontal like this. So horizontal with a floor. All right. Okay. So we're going to decide that let's make a buttonhole, one that horizontal and one upright. Okay. And we know that our button is 1.8. So we can actually, let's use a smaller one. And this is where these come in quite handy with the little markers. So you can actually go and you can measure your buttonhole like that. And get a 1.8, whatever. And let me just check that I'm on the right 1.8. There we go. And now I am going to literally, you can even 1.8, the half of 1.8 is 0.9, eh? Put 0.9 on your line, and you can actually use this. See, there's a little gap there, and you want to mark the ends of your buttonhole with that. Okay, so this is just more or less because your machine is actually going to work this out for you, but you need that line to start with. So remember when I said that when we do our button, it's going to be 0.9 on this side of the line and 0.9 on this side of the line. So let's mark that so that you guys can see. Finding a ruler that will let you, there we go, that will let you do 0.9 on the one side and 0.9 on the other side. Okay, so I want to just get this. I should actually just use a Koki because you guys can see better then. I barely ever use Kokis because they tend to sometimes not come off. All right, let's just do that and do this one also so you guys can see better. So I am going, you're not going to mark this. I'm just showing you, and that is our line that we initially drew. Okay, all right, so that middle line is exactly one buttonhole from the edge, but the button is not going to fit on that side of it or on that side of it. It's going to straddle that middle line, which is 1.8, the size of my button from the edge. All right, so now you are literally going to just mark like that. Okay, that one. And then if we're doing an upright buttonhole, it actually needs to be on this line. So we're going to do one there. And 1.8 is there. Okay, so that is our horizontal buttonhole, and that's an upright buttonhole. Okay, so if you can imagine, if that's cut open and it's quite a big buttonhole, that it's going to pull open. All right. Okay, so the first one we're going to do is just the plain vanilla square buttonhole. And the first thing we need to do, again, is insert our button into the back of our buttonhole foot. You can do that quite a tight fit, all right? If you have a...
People are saying they prefer the white. It's much easier to see than the blue.
Easier to see?
It's much easier to see the white than the blue.
Oh, okay. Well, it's too late now. Okay, so if you look at this foot, I want to show you that one tends to get slightly confused, okay? But the side with the button in, that takes the button. And I have had a lot of people ask me, where does the button go in? You will, if I can come closer, you will see that this part there at the back, that pulls out. See? So you can go, not very big, but you can go quite big on your button. See? So we'll make one of those also. But your button goes in there, and you clamp it shut, making sure it's stuck. Okay, so this is the front of the foot. The button is going to be behind your machine, all right? The other thing you need to think, and this is, I'm going to show it to you, is that your button, when you put it in the machine like this, your button is going to work from the front to the back of the button. So you're going to start there, and it's going to go back. It's not like normal sewing, where the sewing machine comes forward. It's actually going to go back. And this is why you test it, so that you work out all these confusing little things and know it, all right? So we're going to put it, you'll see that this is actually the part of the foot that moves. That part is in front. This is a funny button. It doesn't want to stay in there. And the button part is at the back. So we're going to take off this foot, the normal foot, and we are going to attach the buttonhole foot. Yeah, and we're going to lift it, because there is, on most of the new sewing machines, there is a little thing behind here that you have to pull down. That is the buttonhole stopper. That's what makes it automatically know where it should stop and where it should start. And this is where your manual is very important. Check your manual. I actually, having had the problem with this machine last week, I thought to myself, was I so cocky that I got a new machine and just assumed I knew how it works. So I checked my manual. I did everything correctly. I broke a needle also last week. I haven't broken a needle in like 3 years. So last week was just a fluke because the machine had no problems. So hopefully it has no problems now. All right. So we're going to start, and I'm going to show you. We're going to start by centering our buttonhole foot and at the front of the button, because this is the edge of our garment. So we're going to start by centering it there, and then this buttonhole foot is going to go back, and it's going to come back up, and it's going to make that, and then it's going to go back, and then it's going to make that, and then it's going to end it off. So I want you to see this machine is very, very simple in the fact that it does it all on its own. A square one is 60. 60, okay. And I am gonna just cut my threads a little bit shorter, otherwise, because it's not through the foot. And I am going to make sure that I'm on the right spot. Yeah. And I'm just gonna, hands free, look, and I'm gonna start it, and it is gonna make the buttonhole all on its own. It's always better to measure your buttonhole slightly too small when you're measuring, because then you also get to get a tighter fit. So I'm keeping my foot on it until the machine stops, and you will see that this buttonhole is quite a bit bigger now than what I measured with a ruler. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my buttonhole. This is a test, and I'm going to take my button, and I'm going to physically put it through the hole and see. And it's a perfect fit. Look. See? It's not loose, but it's also not tight. And that is a perfect fit. So my measurement was slightly off. So this is the nice thing about these sewing machines who make their automatic buttonholes. Okay, so I'm going to do one quickly for upright, just so that you can see it. Okay, so when you initially measure your buttonhole, and when you see you starting to sew, and it wants to look like the buttonhole is now bigger than you measured, that's not a problem. That is why we test it, okay? Had I made this buttonhole the size I thought it was, it would have been too small. So the nice thing about these machines is they measure the button for you. So, okay. So that is another one made, and it is, I might not have cut it open wide enough, and it's a tight fit. So the first few times you wear your clothes, it's going to be slightly tighter, but in the end, when it starts stretching, it's going to actually be a perfect fit. And you can also see, when I actually make you a sample that's not fused, so you guys can see, you can't pick up a thread. So you guys can see what it looks like if the fabric is not fused. This is cotton, 100% quilting cotton, so it's a very good fabric. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the same fabric, the exact same fabric. Let's just give it a little bit of an iron. Guys, the mini steam irons are out of stock. We are waiting a shipment. I have 15 on back order, so you are welcome to order them. And as soon as they come in, we'll send them out. But we have no more stock. We have so many of them. Okay, so there's the same fabric, okay, with no fusing. So I'm going to do exactly the same buttonhole. Oh, there's no button in there. Okay, it doesn't matter. It's set to something. It's making a very big buttonhole now. Anyways, actually this is good fabric, so it's not making such a big difference. It actually still makes a perfect buttonhole. We need to find worse fabric to do that test on. Let's try it on some cheap polycotton. It's always interesting to see. I haven't, as I said last week, I haven't had this machine very long, so I haven't made or used all of its features even. Let's make another one. Let's just put a smaller button in here before we make another huge buttonhole. Okay. So let's see. This might just be that it actually doesn't give you any tension issues. This is the fabric last week which it refused to work on. No issues. Okay, so well, you can see a little bit of puckering. Can you see it? I don't know if you can see it. That it pulls up. So the worse the fabric, or the thinner the fabric, the more that puckering becomes. Also, what the fusing helps with is the stretching out of this buttonhole. So we've all had shirts that when we start wearing them, they're just awesome. And then like a month later, the buttonholes have all like pulled open. All right, so now I want to explain to you what I suggest. Let's see if I've got some left here. Yeah. You do with the stop fray. It's also important to remember that you do not want to get the stop fray on your garment, no? Because it can change the color. So we're going to go to the back, and hopefully, yes, it works. And we're just going to go right in the middle there. I think my stop fray is old. It's old. Let's make a new one. I haven't used that in quite a while. Before I had the shop. How does this work? Oh, there we go. Alright. So we're going to open and we're going to just squeeze a little bit, which I did not do now. You can also remove it, but I actually want to show you. So I'm going to be sure at the back it's done quite well. Now I know this sounds like, oh, this is too much trouble, but it makes a difference. And in the front, I'm just going to make sure that I spread it just in between. All right? And then you're going to leave it to dry. So if you look at it, you see that it's slightly darker in between. So we're going to leave that to dry, and then we are going to try and avoid. Can you see what's happening here? Now this is not a problem. This is very normal. I always say to people, wear or use the buttons a few times, and then you just cut this off. This is just because you've actually cut through the fabric. So you're just going to cut it off and clean it up again. All right, so that is the one type of buttonhole. Now I want to explain to you, there's another buttonhole, another type, and then I'm going to also show you how I use the quick unpick, and there's another buttonhole. It looks like this. I don't know if anyone knows what this buttonhole is for. This buttonhole is used in coats and jackets, and it's used if you have a heavy fabric with big buttons. Okay, so for instance, if we're looking at a duffel coat or something, and this is what a button with a shank. All right, so what happens is if that shank is in a normal buttonhole, it's going to pull the buttonhole open. So what happens is this goes through, and then the shank, the buttonhole will be like that, and then the shank will sit in that little hole. So it gives that shank a little bit more space. All right. Okay, so let's try that, because this is also a problem with a shank button cannot be fit into this. See, it does not actually fit. So we're going to make what I call a best guesstimate. Yeah. Okay, because the shank button won't fit into the foot. It won't stay in there. So we're going to guesstimate it and put our foot on. And we're going to just go on this one also. And we're going to start at the same space, even though it would be slightly different for that button hole. Okay, and we're going to set our machine to a keyhole buttonhole. And let's go. And it's doing exactly what it did last week. I don't know if this is, maybe, let's just, let me not get worked up. That's, oh, there we go, there's the problem. Found it, sorry, my little lever was not in correctly. Okay, here we go. All right. I will show you now. And this is, again, remember I said we're guesstimating. So we guessed how big that button is. You can measure, but just putting it in that thing and guessing is also a way of doing that. And then, done. And then when we cut it open, let me show you a trick. So if you take, because listen, this is not funny. I have previously cut through my buttonhole. All right, it happens. So if you put a pin there before the horizontal, I'm going to show you, green line, and a pin on this side, there where you want to stop cutting, and you put your quick unpick in, you can cut, and oops, I'm right, yes, and when you get to the pin, it's going to stop. See? Pin is going to stop me from overcutting. Alright, so that's that. I'm going to test my buttonhole, and I think it's a little bit too big. Is it too big? Is it too small? Yeah, you also don't want it to be, I think it's a little bit too big because we didn't go quite into the hole there. Let's just check it. See, it falls through. So also, when you're doing, I'm very hot now. It's very summery here in Cape Town. When you're working with thick fabrics, they tend to, you don't want to stretch them out when you do the first buttonhole, when you do it. So on the thicker your fabric, the bigger the hole. If you've got a thick button, if you look at that, that looks like that buttonhole is too big for this button. If I put that right on the edge, can you see how much longer that buttonhole is than the actual button? The reason for that is because this button is so thick. It actually needs, can you see, to get it through there. To get it through there, it actually needs the extra space. And you will never know this until you've actually tested a few buttons. So be sure to test, make sure you are actually using the right buttonhole. Make sure that you test your buttonholes before you go onto your garment. Like for instance, this one, it didn't really sew perfectly. So I'm slightly, I wouldn't want to go onto a garment yet with that. So I'm going to just test it again and see why it's doing that. And maybe I pulled on it, or maybe something happened. I'm going to do it actually on a clean piece so we don't have those lines that's influencing us. So I'm going to redo that one because something does not feel quite right with that. So I'm going to do it again to make sure, because if I'd done that on my garment, I would have a crooked buttonhole on my garment because I was too lazy to just test it. And also, of course, with this contrasting color, that is looking, I can already see that's better. Yeah. See, now I know. Okay, so it is correct. I must have touched it or pulled on it or something when I sewed it. If you look at that now, I just want to get these extra threads away out of your vision. And that's what happens if you think you've cut the thread and it's not cut. Okay, so if you look at that one, I'm going to bring it closer. Can you see something went a little bit weird there in the top? It's not completely round. While if you look at this one, it gives me a perfect round. So I'm just going to show you a few of the others, and then I think we're done for now. What else is there? Let's do one with double round on both sides. So what fusion should you use? Any fusing you have. I prefer to use iron-on fusing, and when you're doing jackets and coats, you want a thicker, stronger fusing. But when you're doing shirts and dresses and things like that, you actually want to use quite a lightweight iron-on fusing. All right, so there is a round end on both sides. Show that. So that's round at both sides. Anyway, my suggestion is you test, you test, you test. Okay, so the next thing I want to show, one more thing I forgot, is when you are doing a shirt and you don't want to fuse it, you don't want to actually put iron-on fusing in there. I'm going to show you a trick. Don't tell people I showed you this or said you should do this, okay? So, let's say, for instance, this is quite a big buttonhole, so let's just get sort of, okay? It's sort of that size now, né? So, there is no fusing in here, but I still want the stability in the buttonhole. Okay, so you get something that's called stitch and tear. It's the same thing as tear-away stabilizer that you use for embroidery. Okay, if you don't have stitch and tear, and you don't have cutaway, this is normal printing paper. You're going to put it in between there. Okay, can you see it? I'm just putting it in between, right there where I'm going to sew my buttonhole. Okay, and I'm going to sew my buttonhole just like I would have done. I can actually see the white on the machine. We'll just aim somewhere close. Okay, and I am going to start my buttonhole, sewing through the paper, obviously. Should have made this buttonhole shorter because it's quite a lengthy buttonhole. This. Okay, done. Let me show you. Can you see how it still keeps your how neat and flat that buttonhole is. Okay, and this you can now tear away. Tear away. Normal white paper. Okay. As I said, don't tell your teachers I said that, but there. Perfect buttonhole, no fusing. Okay guys, that's it for tonight. Hope I helped you. I hope I made it less frightening. I want to explain to you another thing. If I did talk about this last week, but let's just do this. If you don't have a sewing machine that has a buttonhole, okay, and you want to make buttonholes, you will do exactly what we did. You will mark your buttonhole like this, okay? That. You will cut through. Where's my, okay? You will actually take your hand sewing needle and sew in small little stitches like this. Round, 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 horizontal, round, 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 round. And that's just to stabilize the area. So that's going to be stitches around. Let's see if you can see it. Stitch around. And then when we've done that stitching, then we're going to cut this open. There. Like that. And then you are going to use what's called blanket stitch. But nice and close together. So you can just go Google blanket stitch. It's a very common stitch that we use in embroidery. And you're going to blanket stitch down here, and you're going to blanket stitch, making that little circle that we just made, and blanket stitch back and end it off. And there is a hand sewn buttonhole. Okay guys, any questions, please? You are very quiet tonight, all of you. Any questions, guys? Matthew, should you not put Lisa back on or not? Are we not going to do that? Are we not testing the internet spirits?
No, I do not think we're going to do that. Lisa, if you want to join, just let me know, and I can always call you on the iPad if you would like to do that.
Oh, the buttonhole cutter. We completely forgot. Listen, guys, this is not a rocket science. It's a knife. So if I do that, it is going to cut. Okay. So you need to find yourself a piece of wood, okay? You're going to put your buttonhole on there, and you're going to either press by hand if you're quite strong. If you're not, you're going to get a little hammer and just tap it, and cut open the buttonhole like that. Great. Any questions?
It does not look like it. Let's give them some
tired. Everyone's tired. It's late.
Yes, I think you can show the people some products. Maybe, just like, just the product or two while we wait for some questions to come in.
Okay, which cameras are working now? All of them?
Both of these.
Okay. We actually have not received any new... Oh, we have a few new products. Let me show you. So this isn't... Let me just get it because it's now not...
I have something to show everyone. So you guys have heard a lot about Odin and the dogs. This is Simba, this is Lisa's cat. Say hello, Simba. Simba was hanging around a little bit tonight, so I managed to catch him and do it. It's a very good cat. Look, you can hold it like a baby and give it scratches and it doesn't mind. Look at it, it's a very relaxed, very loving cat. So this is the cat, its name is Simba. Say goodbye, Simba.
I do have one or two new products. As I said, I'm going to just open this up so you guys can see it. Alright, so we've had quite a few people asking about how do you store your patterns, how do you hang your patterns, So I've been trying, and it's not really a product that is available. There isn't something like a pattern hanger. There is a pattern hook, but I mean there's nothing that you can put against your wall for patterns. So I've been searching, and I know a lot of people haven't got very big sewing spaces, so you can't always have a dedicated space just for patterns against the wall or something like that. And I found these. This is an over door hanger. So it hooks over your door, back on a big door, room door. Okay? And then I thought, well, you can either just hook your patterns by putting a hole through them and hooking them. Like, let's hook this on a buttonhole. Where's my other buttonhole? Oh, there. So you could make a hole in your patterns and just hook it, but then I think your patterns are going to get involved in this whole hook system here. So what I found are these very cute pattern, I'm calling them pattern hooks. They're not pattern hooks. I don't know what they are, like meat hooks or whatever. Where you can do that, very cute, and they can go on any hook or rack or anything you have. And also, this is for over door, and then we have these cute little hooks, very cute. I've seen so many people on Instagram have all their little things hooked, and you know, they make little bands to hang it on here, or I've even seen people put actual threads. I haven't tried it, actual threads on it, but then I mean that's not enough. So this is 2 new products we have. We have these 2 that goes on your wall, and they're quite nice because you can spread them and get all your stuff, you know. I've even seen people have this on the wall, and then it doubles as a, let me just hold it, as a hook for your pattern or your rulers. This one also works like that if you think about it. Look. But then you must just, it won't hang forward obviously on the door like I just did. It'll hang up straight like that. So it's a nifty little thing that you can use for many different. You can also obviously hook hangers on here. I am in the process of trying to find very good, proper looking, not just cheap junk, pattern hangers. Oh, hangers for with the 2 clips on, like, you know, the pants hangers, but I don't want to like get crappy ones, and then, you know, you're all trying to make your sewing room look pretty, and I've seen people actually use those hangers to clip their patterns on. So I'm in the process of getting them. We don't really have a ton of new products because we loaded everything last week. So just a reminder, you can still order the mini steam iron, okay? It is available on back order on our website. I know there is just a certain amount coming into South Africa, so I at this moment have a back order of 15. There's not 15 clients waiting, but I have put in an order for 15 so that even if everyone else doesn't have, I will still have. What else? I think I'm semi done. If you're wondering about this little mini iron board, we have these available. We now have our own little sticker. Let me show you. We are getting so fancy. So fancy. If I can find where it's hidden. Ugh, it's packed away by someone who does not know what should happen. What happens to stickers if they bend like this? Anyway, so look, we have our own fancy pressing tool sticker that's now going to go on to our pressing tools. And yeah, I think that's it. Let's let the people go to bed, man.
There's a few questions in it.
Okay, go.
So a lot of people said that the lesson was very good, and they enjoyed it quite a lot. A lot of people were going like that.
Okay, cool.
Ashley said, "My machine doesn't do buttonholes, so I don't have any questions."
No. Ashley, unfortunately, I don't have an older machine that I can manipulate like that. But if you Google, there is a way that you can do a buttonhole completely manually. You just have to set your machine to a very tight satin stitch. So you'll just do that, and then you'll do a big satin stitch, and then you'll do 2 small rows of satin stitches and a big satin stitch again. So you can do it with a machine that has no buttonhole. You just have to figure it out. Taste.
Okay. Could you maybe do a tutorial on different stabilizers? That works well for which fabrics?
I was thinking of that. I'm working on that. I was thinking of doing that with this, and then time got away from me. So today I've actually finished this and this Hulk thing. Oh, it is. I did spreadsheets like I didn't know I could do. Anyway, so I've figured out the whole Hulk system because we get questions, and because I don't know myself and I haven't used them and I haven't tested it, I can't answer with 100% certainty. So I've ordered all the samples for all the different things that can be done with the Hulk. And we are going to do a lesson on that. But I am working on an info sheet tutorial for different stabilizers. Yes, I just don't have stock of everything, so I just have to go buy some so I can show you all the different types.
Cool. And then someone asked, would you be able to get those clips that attach bobbins to small spools?
I can get them, but I don't. Do you have a bobbin for each color sewing thread you have? Because you got to have that, otherwise there's no point. So what happens? The reason I don't have it is I've got like, let's say 100 different threads, color threads, but I don't have 100 different bobbins. Okay, because that. You put the black bobbin with the black thread. If you want them, I can get them for you. WhatsApp me. I can get them. I find them quite expensive for what they are. It's almost like I want to say like a small of this. Tiny one. It goes in there and then it keeps the bobbin up. I'm sure there's some way one can make something. I don't know. But I can get them, yes.
And then do you stock those miniature mannequins? I love it.
No, this is it's called Figure Forms. They're in Cape Town. It's actually the company that most of the fashion industry in South Africa uses because, Figure Forms. They are very expensive, people. So I bought mine secondhand because I couldn't afford it, Neil. Anything else?
Is there any other questions? Does anyone have any other questions that you guys have? If you guys aren't going to, there's no other questions and everything like that, we are going to have to obviously, leave for the night if there's no questions that come in soon. And I know that
we're going to give it 3 minutes.
Yes, I know that. Yes, so I know that might make some of you guys sad and everything like that, and you might,
give us some hearts, give us some love, please, people.
And you might you might be sad about it, but just remember we're back here next Tuesday, live Tuesday every weekend. Yes. So if you're excited for next Tuesday, you should be. It's going to be good. We'll yes, and we'll be back. So guys,
I'll commit that either next week Tuesday we will either do the fusing and the interfacing thing. If I don't have all the whole samples yet, we can do the fusing and interfacing next week. We've had a lot of questions about that. It's just so difficult to actually explain to you because that's why I also don't do fabric lessons, because fabric is a feel. You have to feel the fabric. I can't explain the feel of this fabric. I can't explain to you in words why the poly cotton doesn't feel like the cotton. So with fusing and interfacing, it's very much the same. You get used to the weight of it, and that's how you know where to use it and what to use.
Amina says you could use a golf tee. I saw it as a hack for the bobbins, that is.
Oh, yes, you can. Yes. I have gold tees somewhere, but I don't know where. But they don't hold the bobbin. They don't hold onto the bobbin, and they're loose. This little thing she's talking about actually goes in here, and then it expands, so it sticks. But I can get them. I had them. It's a personal thing. I don't use them, so.
I agree with you, I agree with you, man. It's all in the touch. I do that too. Learned from my mom.
Yes. Fabric shopping. That's where it's at, people. You got to fabric shop. You got to buy different fusing and taste it. You got to taste it. It's all in the hand. They call the feel a fabric. If you are feeling a fabric, like this or like this. It's called the hand of the fabric.
Yes. You know, guys, I must say that sometimes using the wrong fabric can feel it can feel really rough.
Matthew just wants to press his laughing button.
No. I pushed my sad sound button for my bad joke. Yes.
Okay, guys, give us some love. If there's anything you specifically want me to do a live on, please let us know. I think we have now realized that the long patterns, they just don't work because people just don't have the attention span for 3 weeks of one pattern. So we're going to go back to some short tutorials again for a while. And then we will maybe do one more long one later on. But for now, we're going to do short ones. So please send us WhatsApps with what you would like us to talk about. Because I haven't been a beginner since I was in grade...
Wait. I'm going to do a drum roll for the reveal. Since you're in grade...
At the grade, what is it, son, it says? Grade 5 seker, yeah. Earlier than that. What's that? Grade 7. Earlier than grade 7. I haven't been a beginner since then. So I can not remember what I struggled with or what I need to teach you. Please tell me, I can, and then we can do something about it. Okay, guys? No questions? One more.
Guys, if there's any other questions?
No. They don't have Johns anymore. Is there a question?
Different necklines, maybe.
Different necklines.
I don't know what to do.
I can teach you about the different necklines in words, but I can't show you different necklines. How would I do that? Like a collar and a boat neck and a V-neck. How to maybe finish them. We can look into that. I will write that down. Okay, guys, that's it. Good night. Thank you so much. Give us some love. Give us anything. Just press emojis. You can even go XYZ. Any click enter is good for our feed. Please, guys, thanks so much for your support. And as I said, remember we have wool now, and it's been selling really well. So there is a lot. It's winter. You got to knit some shit, man. Anyway, we're also working on a charity project, which I will reveal pretty soon. How we're all going to get involved. I'm talking to Gift of the Givers. So very exciting stuff. Thank you. Are you going to stop me?
Oh no, I was cheering for you. Yay!
Okay, yes.
Well,
can you stop me?
Yes. I didn't get a chance.
Bye, guys. Instagram? Who are you going to switch off first?
To switch it off.
Bye.
YouTube.